The battlefield was covered in smoke and fire, and the sky looked like it was crying ash. Elias Ward, a young human soldier, ran through the burning ruins of a destroyed outpost. His armor was cracked, his weapon almost empty, and his breathing heavy. He had been separated from his squad during a surprise attack by the Vorian Empire, one of the most feared alien races in the galaxy. But Elias did not stop, he kept moving, searching for a place to hide or a way to regroup. Around him, the ground shook every few seconds as explosions hit the distant hills. Human and alien signals flickered on his visor, but most of them were fading or already dead. Elias felt alone, like he was fighting the entire war by himself. Then he heard a sound he did not expect, a soft, painful cry in a language not human. It came from behind a collapsed metal wall. Elias raised his weapon slowly, expecting an enemy soldier waiting to ambush him. But when he moved closer, he froze. Under the heavy metal plates lay an alien, injured and barely breathing. But this was not any alien soldier. Elias recognized her armor, black and silver with a glowing crest. She was Queen Serathia, the Vorian heir, the future ruler of the alien empire that humans feared most. Every human soldier had seen her in reports. She was known for her strength, her brilliant mind, and her ruthless battlefield decisions. If the Vorian soldiers found her alive with a human soldier, they would kill them both without hesitation. Elias aimed his weapon at her, unsure what to do. The queen opened her eyes weakly, her silver pupils shaking as she looked at the human standing over her. She whispered something, her voice soft like broken wind. "Finish it, human." She thought he came to kill her, to end the war by ending her life. But Elias hesitated. He did not feel hatred, only confusion and a strange sense of responsibility. He looked at the metal crushing her legs and the blood on her armor. If he left her there, she would die slowly. If he stayed, he might die with her. Still, something inside him refused to walk away. He threw his weapon aside and pushed his hands under the burning metal. The heat burned through his gloves, but he kept lifting, bit by bit. The queen watched in shock, unable to understand why a human would save her. Elias groaned, his muscles shaking, but he managed to free her legs. She gasped in pain as he pulled her out, placing her gently on the ground. She tried to sit up, but her body was too weak. "You, help me," she said, her voice trembling. Elias nodded without speaking, knowing words did not matter at that moment. He heard more explosions approaching. He knew Vorian drones would scan the ruins soon. He picked her up in his arms, even though she was taller and heavier than a human woman. He carried her through smoke and falling debris, hiding behind walls and broken machines. The queen felt his heartbeat against her armor, steady and strong. Every step he took risked his own life. In her culture, saving the life of a royal was not just kindness, it was a sacred act called a blood promise. But Elias did not know this. He only knew someone was dying and he could not watch. Drone lights passed over them, searching for survivors or threats. Elias pressed her against a wall and covered her mouth gently. The queen looked into his eyes, confused by the softness in his touch. When the drones moved away, he carried her again, always moving, always protecting. Finally, he found an abandoned bunker, half destroyed but still offering cover. He laid her down carefully and checked her wounds. He used his own medkit on her, even though it was meant for humans. She winced but did not resist. No one had ever treated her with such care, not even her own guards. The queen whispered, "Why, human, why save me?" Elias simply replied, "Because you're alive, and no one deserves to die alone." His words shocked her more than the battle did. For the first time in her life, she felt something unfamiliar, gratitude. She placed her hand on his chest and whispered, "I will remember." Moments later, a Vorian rescue beacon activated automatically from her armor. Elias knew her people would come soon. If they saw him with her, they would kill him instantly. He stepped back, preparing to leave before they arrived. But the queen raised her hand, trying to reach him. Her voice broke as she said, "Human, do you remember this moment?" Then she lost consciousness. Elias looked at her one last time and ran into the smoke, disappearing before the Vorian soldiers arrived. They found their queen alive but unconscious, with no explanation of what happened. And Elias disappeared into the shadows of war, believing she forgot him, believing none of it mattered. But the galaxy did not forget. And the queen never did. Years later, the memory of that day would return. Not as a dream, but as a signal from the stars calling his name. The moment that once saved her life would change the entire galaxy. Because the queen would return asking one question. "Human, do you still remember?" Years passed after the battle, and Elias Ward tried to live a normal life. He worked as a security officer on a quiet human colony, far from the war zones. He told no one about the alien queen he once saved. To him, it was only a memory of a moment where he chose to be human. A moment he believed no one remembered except him. But one night, while he was finishing his shift, the sky above the colony changed color. A strange silver light spread across the atmosphere like a second sunrise. People ran outside in fear, pointing at the sky as enormous shadows appeared above the clouds. A fleet of alien warships, each glowing with markings Elias recognized instantly. The Vorian Empire had arrived. Not in secret, not quietly, but in full force. The colony alarms screamed as Earth's defense systems activated. Military bases sent urgent messages, believing an invasion had begun. But the Vorian ships did not attack. They hovered in silence, watching, waiting. Then a message broadcast across every human screen and every communication network. A tall alien figure appeared on the hologram, wearing a royal crest that made everyone freeze. It was the emblem of the Vorians, the sign of their supreme ruler. The voice that followed was soft, calm, and unmistakably powerful. "Elias Ward of Earth, step forward." People around Elias stared at him in shock. Soldiers pointed their weapons at him, unsure whether he was a threat or a target. Elias felt his heart stop for a moment. He knew that voice. He had heard it once on a ruined battlefield, weak and trembling. Now it was strong and commanding. The queen had returned, and she was calling his name. A bright beam of light descended from the largest Vorian ship. Not a weapon, but a transport signal. Elias was ordered by human commanders to step into the beam. He hesitated, unsure whether he was walking into peace or death. But he stepped forward anyway. The light pulled him upward, and the world below disappeared. Inside the Vorian flagship, the halls were tall, metallic, and glowing with blue energy. Alien guards lined the corridor, their armor shimmering like liquid silver. But none raised their weapons at him. Instead, they bowed their heads as he walked. A gesture he never expected from Vorians. He was being treated like royalty, or something even higher. At the end of the corridor stood giant doors that opened slowly with a deep hum. Inside the chamber was a throne, carved from crystal and surrounded by floating light. And on that throne sat Queen Serathia. Alive, powerful, and more radiant than he remembered. Her silver eyes locked onto him the moment he entered. She stood up and took a step toward him, her voice soft but filled with emotion. "Human, do you still remember?" Elias swallowed hard, shock freezing him in place. He had expected many things, anger, confusion, maybe even revenge. But not this. Not a queen remembering a single soldier from years ago. "I remember," he said quietly, "I didn't think you would." The queen's expression softened. "In my culture, a life saved creates a bond, a sacred one," she whispered. "A bond stronger than war, stronger than fear, stronger than time." She approached him and placed her hand on his. "You carried me from the fire, you protected me when no one else dared." Elias didn't know what to say. He was just a soldier who made a choice. But to her, that moment had shaped an entire empire's fate. She turned to the guards and declared, "This human saved your queen, and because of him, our empire still stands." Every guard placed a fist over their chest, bowing deeply. Elias felt overwhelmed. The Vorian Empire was showing gratitude, a thing no human had ever seen from them. Then the queen revealed the truth. "There are those who wished me dead that day," she said, her eyes darkening. "There are those who called your act shameful, and they vowed to erase you." Elias felt a cold shiver run down his spine. "Erase me?" he asked. "Yes," she whispered, "they watched the battlefield, they saw what you did, and since that day, they have been hunting you." Elias realized something terrible. The reason he survived all these years was not luck. It was because the queen had been secretly protecting him. Her ships had watched from afar, keeping danger away without him knowing. "But now the threat has returned," she said. "Your life is in danger again, and so is mine." She moved closer, her presence calm but powerful. "You saved me once, Elias Ward, now I must repay the debt." Elias looked at her, unsure how to respond. "What debt?" The queen lowered her head slightly, a gesture of deep respect. "In Vorian law, the one who saves the ruler's life becomes more than a friend," she said. "They become a guardian of fate, a partner in destiny." Elias felt his world tilt. He had saved her out of simple humanity. But she had returned with an entire empire because she believed fate now tied them together. Before he could speak, alarms echoed through the ship. Enemy signatures appeared on the scanners, moving fast. The queen's expression changed from calm to fierce. "They have come for us both," she said. Then she looked into his eyes and whispered, "Stay by my side, human, this time, we fight together." The alarm echoed through the Vorian flagship like a warning from the universe itself. Elias felt the floor shake as the ship shifted power to its shields. The queen's guards moved instantly, forming a protective circle around her, their silver armor glowing brighter as combat mode activated. But Queen Serathia raised her hand, stopping them. "Stand down, he stays with me," she said firmly. Her eyes never left Elias, and the guards obeyed without question. A hologram appeared in front of them, showing a swarm of unknown ships approaching at impossible speed. They were dark, sharp, and carried no markings of any known empire. Elias frowned as he watched the ships move. "Those aren't Vorians," he said quietly. "No," the queen replied, "they are worse." The lead ship sent a coded transmission, an ancient Vorian dialect only royal beings understood. The queen's expression hardened the moment she translated the message. "Assassins," she whispered. Elias felt a cold weight settle in his chest. He knew this moment was connected to the battlefield years ago. But hearing the word assassins made the danger feel painfully real. The queen led Elias to the strategy chamber, a massive room filled with floating displays and glowing maps. She activated a secure channel, and a hidden archive opened, revealing old war documents and forbidden symbols. "These assassins call themselves the Shadow Houses," she explained. "They are the oldest families in the Vorian Empire, and they hate humans more than they love their own people." Elias watched the holograms as images of masked alien figures appeared, each one wearing a dark emblem. "These families believed I should have died on the battlefield," she continued. "They thought a queen saved by a human was a disgrace, a weakness." Her voice trembled slightly, not with fear, but with anger built over years. Elias stepped closer, his voice soft. "And they want me dead to erase that memory." The queen nodded slowly. "They want to rewrite history, remove the moment you saved me, remove the bond between us." For the first time, Elias understood how deep this conspiracy ran. This wasn't about one life-saving moment, it was about power, legacy, and ancient pride. He had become a threat to their version of the galaxy. A human soldier had changed the destiny of an alien queen, and they wanted to erase that destiny completely. The Queen's fingers danced across a hologram, showing a secret recording from the day she was rescued. A Vorian spy drone had witnessed everything, Elias lifting the metal, Elias carrying her, Elias saving her despite the danger. The shadow houses had seen it too. And they decided that day Elias Ward must never live long enough to influence the Queen again. I tried to protect you quietly, the Queen said, her voice softer now. When you left Earth for the colonies, it was because I erased your name from public files. When you survived the ambush 3 years ago, it was my ship that destroyed the attackers. When you thought you were lucky, it was never luck. Elias stood frozen, speechless. The Queen had been watching over him for years, guarding him from shadows he never knew existed. But now the shadow houses have grown bold, she continued. They think killing you will weaken me, break the bond, and give them control of the Empire. The hologram zoomed in on one ship, a massive, jagged vessel with dark red energy pulsing through its core. That ship belongs to Lord Vorik, she said. He leads the coup, and he wants the throne. Elias clenched his fists, anger rising inside him. So this whole time, this has been a war. The Queen nodded. Yes, a silent war, and now it has become very loud. Before Elias could respond, the ship shook violently as the assassins fired the first barrage. The Queen steadied herself and spoke with authority. Prepare the fleet to engage, she ordered. But then she turned to Elias, her eyes burning with determination. And you come with me. Elias blinked, confused. Me? I'm not part of your command. The Queen stepped closer, her presence overwhelming. You are more than a soldier, she said quietly. You carried me through fire once, now I need you to walk beside me through war. A guard approached them quickly. My Queen, the enemy has breached the outer shield. The Queen nodded and looked at Elias. They will come for you first. I will not let that happen. The chamber doors opened into a war bridge filled with frantic movement. Commands echoed across the room, energy weapons charged, holograms displayed enemy ships circling like predators. The Queen took her position at the central command platform, glowing with royal energy. She raised her hand, and the Vorian fleet aligned with her will. Elias stood beside her, unsure of what he could offer. But when he saw the assassins' formation, he recognized the tactic instantly. It's a pincer strike, he said. They're trying to cut your fleet in half before you can react. The Queen looked at him in surprise. You know their strategy? Elias nodded. It's human military style, they must be copying human tactics. A slow smile touched the Queen's lips. Then we use your knowledge against them. She commanded the fleet to shift, surprising the assassins and breaking their formation. Elias watched the chaos unfold, realizing he had just helped save the Queen again. The Queen's voice echoed across the bridge as she prepared her final order. Now the real war begins. And beside her, Elias Ward felt something he had not felt in years. Purpose. A destiny he never chose, but one he could not escape. Because he now understood one truth. The assassins were not hunting a soldier. They were hunting the human who changed the fate of a queen. The Vorian flagship shook as enemy fire tore through the outer shields. Red alarms flashed across the bridge, and the air filled with the sound of crackling energy. But Queen Serathia stood tall in the center, her presence steady like a pillar of light in the storm. Elias Ward stood beside her, still trying to understand how a simple human soldier had become part of a royal war. Outside the windows, dozens of assassin ships circled like wolves ready to close in on their prey. The darkness of space glowed with explosions as both fleets clashed in a violent dance. Elias could see Vorian ships falling, drifting into silence, but more waves kept launching, refusing to surrender. The Queen raised her hand, and the entire fleet moved as if following her heartbeat. Elias had never seen such unity. Every ship, every fighter, every crew member obeyed the Queen's command as if she were part of their soul. But the assassins were relentless. They attacked with speed and precision, using stolen human tactics mixed with forbidden Vorian technology. Elias studied their pattern, his eyes narrowing. "They're not trying to destroy your fleet," he said. "They're trying to reach you." The Queen nodded grimly. "Yes. I am their target, and you are the reason they rush faster." Another explosion rocked the ship, sending sparks flying across the bridge. Guards steadied the Queen, but she brushed them off, her eyes blazing with determination. "We hold this line," she said, "we do not break." Elias moved closer to the display, analyzing enemy movement. He saw something the Vorian commanders missed, a hidden formation hiding behind husk ships, waiting for the right moment. "It's a shadow flank," he warned, "they're going to pierce your command ship, not the others." The Queen turned to her generals. "Adjust our position," she ordered, "shift shields to the aft and redirect power from the cannons." Her fleet reacted instantly, blocking the hidden strike before it could hit. The assassins were forced to break formation, drifting into chaos. The Queen looked at Elias, admiration in her silver eyes. "You see what even my commanders cannot." Elias shook his head. "I'm just a human who's seen too many battles." The Queen's voice softened. "That is why you are here, because you understand war with your heart, not just your mind." But their brief calm shattered when the largest assassin ship moved forward. It was Lord Vorik's vessel, the monster leading the coup. The ship looked like a giant fawn, sharp and filled with dark energy. It carried a weapon that pulsed like a beating heart, glowing with crimson light. Elias felt dread rising. "What is that?" The Queen exhaled slowly, her voice tight. "An ancient Vorian relic, the Rift Core Cannon. It tears through matter by collapsing space, even our strongest shields cannot survive it." Elias felt his stomach twist. "So, if they fire it?" "Yes," the Queen said, "we die." As if answering her words, the assassin ship charged the weapon. The crimson glow grew brighter, filling space with an eerie red light. Guards rushed to the Queen, urging her to retreat to a safer chamber. But she refused. "If my people fall, I fall with them," she declared. Elias stepped forward, anger burning hotter than fear. "There has to be a way to counter it." The Queen looked at him, her eyes shining with something more than respect. "There is, but it requires a sacrifice." Elias felt the truth before she said it. "You mean me?" The Queen remained silent, her eyes filled with pain. "It is human technology they copied, only a human mind can predict its firing rhythm, only you can control the counter-disruption." Elias stared at the glowing red weapon outside the window. He remembered the battlefield years ago, the fire, the smoke, the moment he chose to save her. And now fate had brought him back to another moment, another choice. But this time, the cost was higher. He smiled faintly. "So I save your life again, seems fair." The Queen stepped closer, her hand gently touching his chest. "You saved me once in fire, and today you stand ready to save me again in darkness." Her voice trembled in a way he had never heard before. "I cannot command you, this choice must be yours." Elias took a deep breath and nodded. "It already is." The Queen whispered something he never expected. "Elias, your bravery is a memory carved into my soul." The moment was broken as the assassin cannon roared to life. The red beam cracked space itself, creating a tear that opened like a giant wound. Time seemed to slow. The Queen shouted, "Go!" Elias ran to the lower deck where the counter-disruption chamber waited. The ship shook violently, throwing him against the walls. Alarms blared, sparks flew, and the floor trembled under him. But he kept running, determined, unstoppable. The Queen watched from the bridge, her heart heavy yet burning with pride. She whispered to herself, "Human. I will remember this too." The battle outside turned into chaos as the assassin fleet advanced. The Queen raised her hand, commanding the Vorian forces to hold the line at any cost. But everyone on the ship knew the truth. Everything now depended on Elias Ward. The human who once saved a queen. And was now ready to save an empire. The entire Vorian flagship shook like a dying giant as Elias Ward rushed through the lower corridors. The red light of the assassin weapon outside flickered through the ship's windows, painting everything with the color of danger. Each step felt heavier, as if the weight of two species pressed upon his shoulders. But Elias did not stop. He had made his choice. This time, he was not saving just one life. He was saving a queen, an empire, and possibly the whole galaxy. Behind him, the queen's voice echoed through the ship's speakers, guiding him toward the counter-disruption chamber. Her voice was steady, but underneath it he could hear fear not of death, but of losing him again. Elias, you must reach the core before the weapon fully stabilizes, she said. The window is small, only a human mind can calculate it fast enough. Elias ran faster, ignoring the pain in his legs and the smoke filling the hallways. He finally reached the chamber, an oval room glowing with blue energy streams. Inside floated a strange device like a spinning star, rotating faster and faster. This was the counter-disruption lattice. A human-designed interface the Vorians had stolen long ago. A device only a human could properly control. He stepped onto the platform and felt the energy surround him. The system scanned his eyes, his heartbeat, his entire body. A holographic prompt appeared. Human neural signature accepted. The chamber locked him inside as the machine prepared to synchronize with his mind. Outside the glass dome, the assassin weapon continued to charge, shaking space itself. The red glow spread like a bleeding wound across the sky. Elias took a deep breath and whispered to himself. Just like the battlefield, one step at a time. On the bridge, Queen Serathia watched the red tear in space widen. Her hands trembled despite her strong posture. A single mistake, a single second too late, and Elias would disappear forever. Hold formation, she ordered her fleet. But her mind was with Elias, not with the battle. Inside the chamber, the machine connected to Elias's thoughts. He felt a burning sensation as thousands of calculations flooded his brain. Suddenly he saw the firing rhythm of the assassin weapon, every pulse, every cycle, every weakness. His eyes widened. I can do this, he whispered, I know where to strike. He reached toward the controls, guiding the counter-energy toward the exact point required. The chamber glowed bright blue as it built up the disruption wave. Elias knew this would drain everything from him, his strength, maybe even his life. But he pushed forward. Then the Queen's voice came softly through the speaker. Elias, can you hear me? He smiled faintly. Yes. I'm here. Her voice trembled despite her strength. When this is over, I want to say something I never had the chance to say on the battlefield. Elias closed his eyes for a moment. I'll be here to hear it. I promise. Outside, Lord Vorek's assassin ship finally fired. A massive red beam split space apart, heading directly for the Queen's flagship. Everyone on the bridge gasped as the ship seemed to disappear inside the tearing light. But the Queen did not move. She trusted Elias. With her life, her empire, her future. Inside the chamber, the firing pattern appeared clear in Elias's mind. He whispered. Now. And slammed the activation sequence. The chamber exploded with blue energy. A shockwave burst outward, colliding with the red beam in space. Light tore across the void as both forces clashed. The entire flagship groaned, windows cracking, alarms screaming. And then, silence. A burst of white light spread through space as the assassin weapon collapsed in on itself. Their flagship broke apart, splitting like shattered glass. The other assassins froze in fear as the rupture closed and the Queen's ship remained standing. Barely alive, but alive. On the bridge, the Queen stared at the screen. Her lips parted as she whispered. Elias. No answer came back over the comms. Her heart pounded harder than any battle drum she had ever heard. Open the chamber, she cried. Guards rushed at once, sprinting toward the lower decks. Smoke filled the corridor as they forced the chamber door open. The Queen herself arrived moments later, pushing past her guards. Inside, Elias lay collapsed on the floor, the machine dim and silent beside him. He was alive, but barely. His breathing slow, weak, fragile. The Queen knelt beside him, lifting his head gently onto her lap. Her hands shook as she touched his face. Human, she whispered softly, do you still remember your promise? Elias smiled weakly, his eyes half open. I remember everything, especially you. A tear slipped down the Queen's silver cheek, a tear no Vorian had shed in centuries. You saved me again, she whispered, you saved us all. Elias laughed faintly. Seems like, we're even now. The Queen shook her head, her voice soft but fierce. No, we will never be even, because my life is tied to yours forever. The guards watched silently as their Queen gently helped Elias stand. She wrapped his arm around her shoulder, supporting him as they walked back to the bridge. When the Vorian fleet saw their Queen alive, and the human who saved her, they bowed deeply. Every ship, every soldier, every commander lowered their head. A gesture of honor that had never been given to a human before. The Queen raised her voice across the command network. Let the galaxy witness this day, she declared. A human saved our empire, and from this moment, humans are no longer our enemies. Her words echoed like thunder across space. Elias stood beside her, still weak but standing with pride. He had come from a forgotten battlefield. A simple soldier who made a choice to save a stranger. And that single choice had reshaped the fate of two species. The Queen turned to him, her eyes warm. You changed my destiny, Elias Ward, she whispered. And I will remember you, for all the ages to come. Elias smiled tiredly. As long as you remember, the galaxy will be fine. The Queen took his hand. And I will remember forever. And so began a new era. A peace built not by treaties or armies, but by a human who saved a queen. And a queen who never forgot.